You're listening to the Outsider Art and Occult podcast, Pragmagick. I'm your host, Keats Ross. On today's show, we have a repeat offender. And by offender, I mean someone I hold in the highest regard. You see, longtime listeners might remember Derek Hunter from our initial Pragmagick episode back in January of this year. It is insane to me how quick our relationship, both artistically and personally, has blossomed since that very episode. You might remember Derek Hunter's philosophy of love chaos. Well, love chaos has grown since that first episode. I am proud to announce that Derek Hunter has released his second part of the love chaos philosophy and love chaos theory and practice. And this lucky sumbitch got to write the foreword to this great work. I couldn't be more thrilled to know Derek, to share in probably what is the most meteoric relationship I've had with somebody because of this podcast, because of art, and because of magic. I had initially wanted to read excerpts of my foreword from his new book, but, it was just a bit too self-serious. And the beauty about love chaos is that you must embrace doubt. I had doubt about my self-serious nature in regards to, what we talk about, what I'm going through now, and everything inside and out. And with that, I've decided to embrace the chaos, freewheel this intro, and absolutely sit in the confines of the unknown. And for the first time ever, we take a therapeutic approach specified in love chaos theory and practice and engage in a love chaos dialogue about a very, very big announcement I have regarding my life and my personal trajectory. I'm moving to Colorado. Anyways, without further ado, slither hither weirdos and witches, here's a conversation and a love chaos dialogue with my good friend and esteemed colleague, Mr. Derek Hunter. Derek Hunter, friend, it is so good to have you back on Pragmagick, and I'm so excited to talk about love chaos again.
Yeah, thank you. It's absolutely my pleasure to be back on here with you. It's definitely was a great experience earlier this year with you, and was something that really helped love chaos in a lot of ways, and helped me in terms of clarifying and defining what this new book was going to be about.
How amazing is that? Like, let's do a little window into the timeline here, because we talked in 2019, right? So it seems like
we did a lot of talking, a lot of messaging, and
it's been fantastic. I love how quick
definitely
our relationship has evolved. I love how quick I've come to accept love chaos and practice the work, and it's been such a nebulous part of my life since that initial episode. So I've really thank you for sharing it with me.
Yeah, well, it's something that it really means a lot to me, and I've told you this a number of times, that our friendship has meant a tremendous amount to me, just not only in terms of the work of love chaos, but also just for you and I as two human beings who have both had our struggles and are both very similar in a lot of ways. We're both very passionate people. And so it's definitely been, on my end, I'm very grateful to have met you as well, and that we're developing this very unique relationship that we have.
So much ditto. And it's so cool to have had any part in this kind of new iteration of Love Chaos. So let's kind of jump into the book, because last time we talked, it was predominantly about your first iteration of Love Chaos. And I thought maybe we could give listeners kind of a quick reiteration of what that initial text was.
Oh, the first one that came out in 2014?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. That I think it's important to know that first book was born out of a point in my life where I had to make a major turn in my personal life after years of substance abuse, to hard drugs, to alcohol, to a whole lifestyle that entailed that substance abuse, and is in going beyond just substance abuse, and just in terms of being a better human being, a more decent human being, and a more aware human being, and conscious of my own issues, my own thoughts, my own feelings, and really making some deep changes. So it came out of, I think, in a lot of ways, a really deep subconscious place. I think if it was something that I could sort of explain to people in a nutshell, it really is about these insights that kind of came to me in a very kind of like, it wasn't an automatic writing, but I just had these, I was just bombarded with these ideas and these what I wanted to call insights, and I had to put it down. So that's what I did. And it was sort of at a really crucial point where I had come at kind of like at where the 12 steppers call, rock bottom in my life.
Right.
And so while I was being in that place, these insights kind of came to me, and like in a lot of ways saved my life. And so I put those down. And so the book contains 45 insights into life that are guided by the principle of love chaos, that views life as essentially chaotic in nature. And within that chaotic framework, it was important to focus on love. And so that's where it wasn't, this new book is more of a very conscious, methodical, well thought out step-by-step guide. And that first book was just being, in a really low point in my life, and just sort of having these insights come to me and save me, basically. And I wanted it to share it with the rest of whoever would read it, the rest of humanity,
Yeah, it sounds like, this continuation of this translation process, from deep subconscious kind of artistic realms into what we have now, which is theory and practice. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, definitely. Even before I started practicing magic, which was about 2009, even before that, I was a big believer in as being an artist and opening myself to different pathways, and allowing myself to be a vehicle or a vessel for something, whether it just ideas or the imagination, or if there really was some kind of other dimension that existed. Since my teens, I always felt that it was this really strong part of what it meant to be an artist, was just allowing yourself to be a channel for these ideas. And a lot of my creative aspect really deals with the subconscious. And I really try to use language in a way to penetrate the subconscious and to find out what's there and to put it onto page through storytelling. And so really, you're right. In a lot of ways, how Love Chaos was born was through this realm of the unseen, and it kind of coming out into the scene world, because I was at a point where I needed something, and I needed to have some guidance, and being a person who was so resistant to following guidance and being told what to do, and wanting to please authority, I needed something, so I had to create something myself in order for me to continue living. And so from that point of being an artist to being a creative person, which I still am today, I realized that, I had to have a certain way of life, certain principles that were still very non-dogmatic, but principles that I could live my life by, so that I could have a healthy life, to be there not only for myself, but also for my son. So that over the last, you know, 5 years developed as I became a counselor and started to work in the helping field, helping others. So over the years, these theories and these ideas that have come to be found in this newest book, Love, Chaos, and Theory and Practice, have been developing over the years as I've been practicing it in my own life and also in my way of helping others as well too.
There's one thing that has always really resonated with me, and I talk about it in the forward a bit, is the kind of reverence to doubt, or this kind of overarching healthy agnosticism, not an agnosticism that just kind of lets go and lets be, but is reverent and is full of interest and curiosity, but is never really kind of riddled with absolutes. And I've always really appreciated that. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that and your experience with, agnosticism as a whole, maybe the frustrations that that is born out of that a bit.
Sure. Well, I think what really helps a lot in life is demonstration. And when we see someone else doing something, it makes it much easier for us to do it. It's one of the reasons why I like my current employer. We're called demonstrators and not counselors.
Ah,
And, and so, it's a whole other thing. I won't, really go into that right now, but basically it's something that, this whole embracing of doubt, which is crucial to Love, Chaos, and it's crucial to me, really stems from me seeing it in action through my father. My biological father, was a devout agnostic, and so even before I ran into Robert Anton Wilson, who was also a devout agnostic, I had already was familiar with agnosticism and how it could be applied to living a healthy and fulfilling life. And my dad showed to me, in his own, by demonstrating day in, day out, how a person could embrace doubts and not be, and, the traditional perspective on doubt is that doubt is like crippling. Doubt it creates insecurities. Doubt creates,
inaction. Yeah.
inaction. Yeah, exactly. It creates all sorts of things that are harmful to people because we've been for centuries raised on this concept of faith, that faith is basically the key to salvation. And certainly I believe that faith can be something that people can utilize as a tool that they can believe in deeply that can help them, and then they've proven to do so. But I feel like, that doubt is really something that is just as powerful as faith. And that if you understand how doubt can help you, and you can, and this is where the love principle comes in, is that's why it's combined with love, is that if you utilize love for yourself and love for other people, doubt doesn't have to be this big scary thing. But again, for me, it wasn't just really loving and enjoying Robert Anton Wilson's work, which was just through text, through language, and through books, and then also seeing him in his interviews and how hilarious he was and humorous and just like a really fun guy. But even before Robert Anton Wilson was really just seeing it in flesh and blood with my dad, and just seeing him, and out of all the people that I knew, except perhaps my mother, he was the one that was always there. My mom was always there. My dad was there. I had friends, lovers, people come and go, other family members come and go. So that kind of consistency showed to me that it was possible to to embrace doubt and to really make it work for you. And, and just with my dad, he actually had this idea for creating his own religion towards the end of his life. He died just unexpectedly at the age of 64, 3 months after my son was born in 2005. So he was really in the works of working on a lot of different things, and his life was cut short. But one of them was this idea of having this church, what he called the Church of Many Doubts. And I include that in the first book of Love, Chaos. I talk about just real briefly about how my father wanted to create this Church of Many Doubts. And I really feel that love chaos is sort of an extension of those ideas that he had.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be the through line, or the the sinew, the connective tissue between uh, what I see as the three components really of Love Chaos in this new book and this new iteration of it. And I see in the introduction you basically explain these three chapters, which one, Love Chaos as a guiding principle in day-to-day living. Two, Love Chaos psychology, using psychology for personal growth. And three, Love Chaos magic, practicing techniques and rituals of transformation. So, how is doubt or agnosticism, how does that come into play within these three components? Are there um, are there overarching ideologies that are one should be weary of, and even hard sciences like psychology? I guess that wouldn't be a hard science, but you know what I mean. In
Sure.
academic worlds.
Oh, so well, I think in all three of those, I think you can really, I think the key thing is, and it's important for people to understand that a person could be, have your own practices, your own belief system, and then also follow love chaos. Love chaos is not meant to replace other people's belief system. It's more of in addition. And if people would like to embrace and follow love chaos and love chaos alone, of course, that's great too. And, it's not really meant to be like in opposition to Christianity,
Right.
to Islam, to their various different pagan beliefs, or to other occult practices, to atheism or materialism. It's not meant to be in opposition to any of these things. I think the key thing is that if you do have these beliefs and you do have these practices, it's important that if you're going to follow love chaos, that you have to have doubt about those beliefs and about those practices that you have. And if a person is unwilling, basically, to doubt their own beliefs and their own practices, then really love chaos is not really meant for them. I think people who are militantly fixed and obsessed with certain concepts and certain ways of being, that's really what love chaos is not about at all. And I think that's in terms of the three steps. I think if you can look at it in terms of one's own life, you look at the job that we all work, and have either a 9-to-5 job or work odd hours or whatever it may be. I think it's important to know that this whole unpredictable nature of existence, whether it's at a job or in our relationships to people that we love and care about, or strangers that we meet, is that whatever that we have a perception on, it's good to have some kind of idea of what we're doing, but always to leave a certain window open for the possibility that I could be wrong, or there could be another element to what's going on that I'm not really, I don't see at the moment. So that's like one example for in terms of like day-to-day practice of love chaos and embracing doubt.
What I love is like it's a salvo in a way to pre-existing absolutes. It's like it's not replacing the ideology. It's not it's not becoming one in of itself. It's an additive, incorporation almost. And through this process, through Pragmagick, through meeting you, having Love Chaos be parallel to my own kind of magical journey, one of the big things and big hurdles in my way has been dogmatic ideologies, especially within the occult. And what I love about Love Chaos is that it kind of it bites it back down to size for me. But one thing in Love Chaos Theory and Practice is that the third chapter is Love Chaos Magic, and it reads just like a wonderful primer to those interested in the occult without making it seem like a gatekeeping technique. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. It was with the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, if you could talk a little bit about how you found love chaos to, incorporate into the occult spheres.
Sure. I think it's important to know that, like, I love the occult world. I do feel like the occult world has a lot of flaws, and it always has, just like every other field has its flaws and a lot of misguided stuff, and a lot of ego.
Yeah.
I certainly feel like, though, that the occult is not exclusive in regards to dogmatism or egotism.
Right.
That you can find that in anywhere. But I do feel that it's important to know, as much as that I do feel like I belong in the occult world. Love Chaos is also a book and also a philosophy that is meant for people who really don't have any interest in the occult, and would rather, because there's a lot in terms of, not just in chapter 1, but there's a lot involved in Love Chaos psychology. There's a lot of work that a person can do within Love Chaos with all the psychological stuff, which then leads to the group work. And the group work, there's a lot entailed in that, and Love Chaos dialogues. So it really is meant for everyone.
Right.
It really has the possibility for everyone could practice Love Chaos. But so, given that, though, I also wanted it to be so for anyone who has no prior knowledge of the occult, of psychology, of philosophy, of self-help, all of these things, that this book would be like an introduction for them. I wanted it to be so that people unfamiliar with a lot of things in the occult would be able to understand, well, what exactly is magic? What has been the history of magic in the last 100 years? Who are the notable figures in magic? From Aleister Crowley to Austin Osman Spare, to the people in chaos magic, to Wicca. Mm-hmm. And so, it is something that it's important to know that, and just like I went into a brief history of peer-to-peer support groups with not only the 12 steps, but SOS and refuge recovery and smart recovery. It's important to understand what has come before, so that we have things in context of where we're at right now.
Well, also another big component I champion with Love Chaos theory and practice is the pragmatic application of it, and the fact that what you do for a living, but not even for a living, just what your kind of purpose is outside of this has been, helping people, being, in a therapy situation and helping reform prisoners and people, with, just kind of hard histories, I would say, like we have. And I was wondering if you can talk a little bit about bringing some of that information in, like you just mentioned, with talking about the different 12-step programs.
Sure. Yeah. I think, again, like all other sort of religions or belief systems, my personal way of feeling about the 12 steps or other self-help peer-to-peer support groups is that I may not agree with them personally, but I definitely do find some value to them. There's a great deal of value in a lot of ways in the 12 steps that I feel can be very, very useful for people. This notion of it's not about a specialist per se or a guru who is basically telling everyone what to do and how to be and how to act. It's about, one addict helping out another addict.
Right.
And it's like it's one person who struggled but has overcome adversity and have done the 12 steps and gotten to a certain point of understanding and how to live a better life, than helping others. And that's a really big principle behind Love Chaos too. Love Chaos is not meant to be about a guru. I'm not a guru. I'm not a specialist. There's a lot of other people out there in the world who have a lot more knowledge about the occult, about philosophy, about psychology. But in terms of how I have used Love Chaos to help me in my life, and as you say, a very pragmatic approach, and how I've come to use the research that I've done in the occult, in psychology, in self-help, in, peer-to-peer groups. I've utilized the research that I have done, and I have done, a fair lot. I love to read. I love to utilize knowledge in my actual day-to-day existence. And, I think it's important to know that the 12 steps there's a big part of it is after you've done the 12 steps, you basically are going out and being of service to others. And that's another principle that I have found that I have really cherished, because that's really kept me sane in a lot of ways. This notion of helping other people is a way to not just out of true altruism, which is, it feels great to help other people and to see other people do well, but also in addition to that, to know that by helping other people, I'm helping myself. I'm keeping my own, my own sanity intact by helping others.
That's a plus.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's something
I think especially as both of us have come to that point of really dark places, of losing our minds, of perhaps not being committing the crimes that, say, the guys that I've helped, some of them who have murdered people, some of them have spent decades in prison. I haven't gone to really dark places like some people have that I've been helping, but I have gotten to that point of where you understand it's a life and death situation. And so my own sobriety, my own sanity is key for me in order to continue just being alive.
One of the things about, this dark night of the soul that we both know all too well is a lot of times you'll see people kind of clamor or subscribe to anything that helps pull them out. Some of us are lucky enough to experience, magical practice during this time. I think magic is a huge thing for desperate people, and I think that's it's worth, But what I really appreciate about Love Chaos is, finding that wedge right when you're pulling yourself out of the hole, to remember to forgive yourself and to, maybe not subscribe so fully, so quickly. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely feel like it's very understandable why people are born again.
Yeah.
In the point of the dark night of the soul. And I've met a lot of people who have, whether it was Christianity or the 12 steps, mm-hmm. or something else, they found a faith, they found a system of beliefs that helps them basically, and they latched onto it, and in the process it helps them tremendously, but it also made them very dogmatic.
Right.
And it's really one of the things that really was just so liberating for me in my first year of sobriety from not only hard drugs but alcohol too, was finding an alternative to the 12 steps. Because being an agnostic and being someone who was really anti being told what to do, which unfortunately there is that element to the 12 steps, I found another group, and that was called SOS, which stands for Secular Organizations for Sobriety. And then there, again, going back to this notion of demonstration, I was actually be able to be in groups with other people who were either agnostic or atheists, and they didn't have to be spiritual. They didn't have to have a higher power. They didn't have to be told what to do. They didn't have to tell me what to do.
Right.
And they were living sober, happy lives. And it was just so liberating to know that I didn't have to toe the line of someone else's beliefs. I didn't have to just become this person that was just saying yes to everything that someone else was saying. That was a very liberating experience, and it just sort of reaffirmed to me my own beliefs in the importance of Love Chaos, and how that it really needed to be there, not just for me, but for other people who had that same need to live fulfilling lives and healthy lives, but didn't have to what I want to say, like sell their soul to dogmatism.
Right.
You know, and it's just nice to know that life is like that. You don't have to be born again
Well, there's.
to better.
I'm sorry. To better.
Wait, you don't have to be born again to get better as a person.
Oh, right. So, I mean, it's this concept that has been, hammered and refined and kind of known between its, new thought or chaos magic or even the 12 steps when they tell you just pick like not a deity, but pick something higher than yourself. You know what I mean?
A higher power.
Yeah, just
Right.
pick a higher power. It doesn't have to be, Jehovah or whatever. It can be whatever. And it's this concept that I think a lot of times gets jumbled or it gets lost in translation about, how deep maybe, or, what the intention behind it can be. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right when it comes to the intention behind it, because I have no problem. I have several higher powers in my
Right.
life, and I did before. I have several deities or entities, so it wasn't. It's the notion of submission and of basically this notion that I'm powerless, that really any of the credit that should be given not to me, but not only to my higher power, but to the fellowship, or to something outside of myself. And this notion, basically, of you hear it a lot in meetings of, my best thinking got me to my worst place. Your
Right.
best thinking is basically what got you to the gutter. So don't listen to your own thinking.
Right.
And that just really runs contrary to how I've lived most of my life. Was that I've always thought my best thinking rationally and reasonably, is what really got me to better places. It was my impulsive, irrational thinking, although sometimes could be very rewarding and fulfilling too, but certainly making stupid decisions is really what got me in the gutter, not my best thinking, and it's just this whole notion of submitting yourself to something other than yourself, that I felt was really not something I could sit with well. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there in the world who feel the same way.
Yeah, it seems to be a hurdle. I know during my transition, that was definitely one of them. Or this weird idea of a, for lack of a better term, like a cult mentality. You know.
Sure,
Um,
definitely.
and I think it's part and parcel to the rebellious spirit. The rebellious probably souls that we have that got us into the mess in the first place.
Yeah, well, that's a really I think you and I have talked about this before. It's something that is like, for some people, they feel like that rebellious spirit is somehow inherently evil.
Right.
So anything that comes from that rebellious, independent spirit is bad and harmful. And I feel like that's not necessarily true. I think that um, that you can find a lot of different ways to pull yourself out of situations, um, by utilizing that rebellious spirit. And if you understand, if you look at how that there are a lot of things in life that are out there to help you and to benefit you, and a lot of other people that really mean you well and that love you and care about you. But also, in addition to that, there are also things, people, ideas, things that are really out to control you, to put you into a position of submission, to do you harm. We really can't ignore that reality. So to rebel against something that does us harm I think, is inherently good and healthy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be something that's going to do us more harm.
Yeah, in a way, I learned to kind of rebel against that thinking, right? That
Exactly.
yeah,
A lot of things in life comes through our thoughts, and a lot of like things that seek to do harm to us come through our mind. And it's important to understand when we have these ideas. Certainly, they're coming from us and coming from our head, but all these insecurities or fears or anxieties or all these things it's important to know how to deal with them and how to operate in life in such a way where we're not being subjected to their power.
Yeah. And it just got me thinking if there's any listeners out there that might be kind of, at the end of their ropes too and are, wondering how this could help them, what would you suggest with the love theory and practice?
Well, I would suggest reading the book. It's a very quick read. It's only a little over 100 pages, with your excellent forward and then my introduction, then the first chapter, then the second chapter, and then the third chapter, and there's epilogue of quotes. It runs over a little over 100 pages.
Yeah.
And, it's something that I think it'd be good for people to read it, and then go from there. And there's a lot of options in terms of where people can go. I definitely feel like it would be good for people to reach out to me directly. I do these love chaos dialogues with people where they pose a question. They ask a question about their life that they'd like to have discussed between me and them. And again, like I come from a place of it's a dialogue. I'm not coming from a place of I'm a guru who's going to provide you with all the answers in life.
Right.
I'm basically another human being that's struggling too. But through my experiences and through my practice, I have come to a better place in my life with using love chaos, and those are things that can help other people as well.
I mean, that's the thing with love chaos. It sounds simple. It sounds like an obvious resolve once you hear it. You know what I mean? It sounds
Sure.
like
Yeah.
but it packs such a wallop, and it's not like the love chaos dialogues, which full disclosure, we have had, and it not only builds a relationship between two people, which is just good, no matter what.
Right.
It also helps different perspective. I mean, it's therapy. It's been tried and trusted for a millennia. So, but the way that it's kind of guised in this agnosticism too, and this I don't know, this ability to not be hindered or corrupted by different outside ideologies has been really wonderful, because there's something within the world of psychiatry or there's always some weird overarching agenda, I would say, in a way.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And it's important for people to know there's a great deal of therapies and different modalities, different techniques that are used in the field of psychology that can be very, very beneficial for people. But I think you have to understand, though, too, that psychology, as great as it can be, it also it's definitely not, like we were talking about earlier. It is not actually a hard science,
Right.
and unfortunately, a lot of times therapists or psychiatrists or psychologists like to present it as if it is a hard science. And there just is too much when it comes to human behavior and feelings and thoughts. It's just so impossible to really make psychology fit into the standard traditional hard sciences of biology and chemistry and other different fields of science. Is that there's just too much nuance involved, and that's why I really feel that actually uncertainty can be really beneficial for people, because if you look at your life already as it has been and as it is now, I really honestly feel that people actually already practice love chaos.
Right. That's
You
what
know,
I meant by that. It sounds like a perfect resolve, because it's just so healthy in its understanding of the world and the forces outside and your interaction with those forces and what your resolve is with those forces. And it's just better to love those forces. Yeah.
sure. Well, I think, again, like, the reason why I feel like that people already practice love chaos is that nobody really knows for sure what the hell is going on in the world
Right.
or in the universe. And we have certainly there has been a great deal of people throughout human history who have come to certain conclusions and found certain things to be true, and to a certain extent. But a lot of times, when we come to these conclusions or we come to these understandings about our existence or about existence in general, a lot of times it'll change, and like past discoveries will be found to be not necessarily true, and as we evolve and as we develop. So I feel like people, basically, we do things in life on a day-to-day basis or in a generalized sense. We don't really know what we're doing. And I feel like people just inherently want to love and to be loved. I think it's just inherently already a part of us. I feel that that doesn't mean that everyone's a great human being and we do good things to each other. We oftentimes do horrible things to each other. And if you look at human history, it just shows you right there that we do a tremendous amount of pain to ourselves and to others. Mm-hmm. And so where that comes into play is just that we're really insecure. Human beings are not secure. I feel like we're really just we act a lot of times out of fear, out of anxieties, about a lot of things, and because of that, we want to latch on to certainties, and we want to latch on to something that's going to be what we feel is the absolute truth. And Love Chaos basically presents a picture and a way of life where you don't have to do that, and in the reality of your life, you can actually embrace how things go and navigate it and work your way through it. And that really, to follow the path of Love Chaos, it does require a transformation. It does require, your time and your attention.
Yeah, it's inner alchemy for sure.
Yeah, it's not something that it requires you to change in a lot of ways what you've already been doing. It just means that now you become conscious of what you've already been doing, and then how can you use those things in a conscious way to benefit you. And that's really what Love Chaos is about.
Well, I thought we could illustrate maybe the Love Chaos dialogues and basically just give listeners an idea of what we mean, maybe dispel any ideas, preconceived notions of what this might be by just having a dialogue right here.
Right, yeah, definitely. It's something that I think, it's important to know that with Love Chaos dialogues, they're very casual. It's not something that, will feel all that different from a normal conversation.
Right.
And when, I think the one thing that sort of provides like some underlying principle behind it is that, so like, for example, we'll do one right now. And if people want to actually do one on their own, that's fine. But again, like, as long as at least one person involved has the principle of Love Chaos guiding them, and then in all the conversations, all the dialogues need to be started with the question, and that's sort of the starting point.
Right. So I think by the time this comes out next week, I would have announced that I'm moving to Denver. And so I thought or Denver, Colorado. We're not even entirely sure, to be honest. And that's kind of my, the basis of what my question is, and I'm trying to figure out how to form it into a question, but it's really just about the stresses and the bittersweetness of such a quick move and change of environment, and having a hard time with a lot of those, the roller coasters up and down, the anxieties, just this weird kind of future longing I have for the community here, but also like this excitement. It's just this mass of confusion right now, Whoa. Stop the tape. if you want to be privy to the Love Chaos dialogue Derek and I go very, very in deep with, especially about my move to Colorado, I'm going to release this full conversation unedited on Patreon at patreon.com/pragmagick. You know, you give a little money, you get to know about my personal shit. In any case, thank you so much for listening. Please pick up Love Chaos Theory and Practice at Amazon. It's only $6, and you'll be supporting an amazing artist, philosopher, and magician. Derek Hunter, thank you so much for being a part of this genealogy of Pragmagick and of my own trajectory. I owe a lot to your friendship, and I want to thank everyone who's listening. Again, if you want to hear that personal Love Chaos dialogue, patreon.com/pragmagick. And as always, I love you all. Haunt on.